Today, here, we stand in the same spot in Leipzig where last Saturday tens of thousands of people gathered to protest against the AfD and the extreme right in this country. Those tens of thousands of people are not here today and were not with us at any of the protests we have staged since the beginning of the current genocide in Gaza. Germany is remaining silent. It's the Palestinian, Arab and migrant population and its allies speaking up. We who stand in solidarity with Palestine already knew of the hypocrisy of the so-called German left. They ignored us and did not mention nor protest any of the undemocratic and repressive measures we've been facing in the last years. They remained silent when the Nakba Day protests were banned in Berlin, when journalists were fired because of their links to Palestine, when the boycott, divestment and sanctions movement was outlawed, when police arrested Arab-looking people en masse, when politicians started threatening us with deportation unless we assimilate to their German-centric views. They stood silent. The so-called leftists in Germany choose to remain dogmatically silent on the Israeli occupation of Palestine, or what they call the Middle Eastern conflict. Trying to compensate for their Nazi history, they have the audacity to try to silence Palestinians and Arabs who fight for Palestinian liberation by accusing them of anti-Semitism. Meanwhile, 80% of all anti-Semitism and anti-Semitic attacks in Germany stems from the German far right. German so-called leftists fail to ever speak up or take a position on the Palestinian struggle, rendering it invisible, taboo, and supposedly too complicated. But we know it is not complicated. We know the history of the Nakba. We know the brutality and the injustice the Israeli occupation has imposed on Palestinians for almost 8 decades. We know Israel is a settler colony practicing apartheid. We know which devastating consequences the illegal and inhuman blockade on Gaza has had for the last 17 years. We know that Israel is committing a genocide in Gaza right now, no matter how much the media tries to hide it, and no matter how much the German state tries to criminalize stating this truth.